I always thought my family was the picture of perfection. My dad, Tom, was the rock, the dependable provider, always there to offer wisdom or a laugh. My mom, Sarah, was the epitome of warmth, the glue that held everything together. We had it all: a home, a routine, and what seemed like the perfect life. I grew up believing that love and stability were the foundation of everything. But that all changed one afternoon when I stumbled upon a letter hidden in my mother's desk. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary at first. I was just going through old family documents, tidying up the office, when I found the envelope. It had my mom's name written on it in handwriting I didn't recognize. The name on the envelope was David. I didn't know who that was, but something in my gut told me I had to open it. What I found inside wasn't just a letter, it was a confession. A love letter from a man named David, someone my mother had been deeply involved with before she met my father. As I read the words, I felt like the floor had been ripped from beneath me. The letter was full of longing, regret, and an emotional weight that I hadn't expected. The more I read, the clearer it became that this wasn't just some passing affair. This was someone my mother had loved, and I had no idea. I can't erase the love we shared, Kate. I still think about you every day. You were always the one who got away. I couldn't breathe. I stared at the words, trying to process what I had just discovered. I had always thought my parents were the ideal couple. They'd been married for over 25 years, had raised 2 kids, and seemed to have it all figured out. But now, in the blink of an eye, that perfect image was shattered. The next day, I confronted my mom. She had always been the one to tell me everything, to answer my questions without hesitation. But now, I was the one asking questions, and she was the one avoiding them. "Mom, who is David?" I asked as we sat down in the kitchen. She didn't even look at me. Her hands shook as she stirred her coffee, and I could tell she was trying to find the right words. "I didn't want you to know about him," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I could keep it hidden, but I guess it's time to face it." I stared at her, heart racing. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell Dad?" She closed her eyes and sighed. "It wasn't something I was proud of, Ellie. But David. He was the one I truly loved. Before your father." The room felt smaller, as if the walls were closing in on me. My mother, the woman I had always looked up to, was confessing something I wasn't sure I could understand. "But you chose Dad," I said, my voice cracking. "Why, if you loved him, why did you marry Dad?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Because I thought I could make it work. I thought I could build a life with your father, and I thought that was the right choice. But sometimes love isn't enough. I thought I was doing the right thing, Ellie. I thought I could move on, but I never really did. And when I reconnected with David years later, it all came rushing back." "So, it wasn't just a mistake?" I asked, anger bubbling up inside me. "It wasn't just something that happened once?" "No," she said softly. It wasn't just one night. It was years of unresolved feelings. I tried to bury it all for the sake of our family, but I never really let it go. And I think that's where everything started to fall apart. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. My mind was racing. How could she do this? How could she have kept this from us, from Dad? How could she have lived with this secret for so long? "I don't know if I can forgive you," I said, standing up. "I don't know if I can look at you the same way again." "I understand," she whispered, wiping away her tears. "But I want you to know that I never meant to hurt you. I never meant to hurt any of you. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I could forgive her. I didn't know if I ever could. But I knew one thing, this family, this perfect life I thought we had, was never as it seemed. And now, I had to decide how to move forward. But I wasn't sure I was ready for that just yet. The days that followed were a blur. I spent the next few days going through the motions of life, working, hanging out with friends, and trying to keep up appearances. But in the back of my mind, there was only one thing I could think about, that damn letter. The letter that shattered everything I thought I knew about my family. About my mom. Every time I looked at her, I saw the woman who had loved someone else, someone I had never known, someone who seemed to still have a hold on her. I wanted to scream at her, ask her why she had chosen to keep that secret from me for so long. But I didn't. I just sat there, quietly angry, quietly hurt. I didn't know what to do with all the emotions swirling inside me. It was like I was living in a house full of strangers, and I didn't know how to fix it. The tension between my mom and dad was palpable. Dad didn't say much to her, and when they did speak, it was always brief, always strained. I could see the hurt in his eyes, but he wouldn't talk to me about it. He kept his distance, just like he kept his emotions in check. It wasn't until a week later that things finally came to a head. I came home early from work one day to find my dad sitting in the living room, staring blankly at the wall. His coat was hanging on the chair, his shoes still on. It was strange for him to be home in the middle of the day. "Dad?" I asked, walking into the room. He didn't turn to look at me at first, but after a moment, he did. "Ellie, I think it's time we talk," he said, his voice rough, like it had been a long time since he'd spoken those words. I sat down next to him, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't know what was coming, but I knew it wasn't going to be easy. "About what happened?" I asked quietly, though I knew exactly what he meant. "About your mother," he said. "And about the past. About everything." I didn't know where to begin. I had so many questions, so much anger to release. But I didn't know how to say any of it. So, I stayed quiet, waiting for him to speak first. "I never expected it," he began, his voice low, like he was trying to make sense of it. "I never thought, after everything, that she would choose to keep that secret. I didn't know how to face it, Ellie. I don't know if I can anymore." His words hung in the air like a weight that neither of us could shake off. I felt my chest tighten as I struggled to understand where he was coming from. "I didn't know if I could forgive her," he continued, his voice cracking. "But I don't know if I can live with this. Not just the affair, but the lies. The things she kept from me, from you. From all of us." I didn't know how to respond. I could feel the anger bubbling inside me. The betrayal I felt wasn't just about my mom and what she had done. It was about the life I thought I had, the family I thought I knew. It was about everything that had been a lie. "You don't have to forgive her," I said, my voice trembling. "But you have to decide what comes next. We all do." He looked at me, his eyes filled with sorrow. "I don't know if I can stay here, Ellie. I don't know if I can live with her, knowing what I know now." My heart sank. The thought of my parents not being together was too much to bear. I couldn't imagine it. I didn't want to. But at the same time, I could see the pain in my dad's eyes. I could see how deeply this had cut him. And I knew, deep down, that nothing would ever be the same again. The next few days were a blur of awkward silences and tense conversations. Dad didn't speak to Mom, and when he did, it was cold and distant. Mom, for her part, was doing her best to apologize, but it felt like the words were empty. I didn't know if it was too late for them, if their marriage could survive this. And then, one evening, my dad dropped a bombshell. "I'm leaving," he said, his voice steady but final. "I can't do this anymore." I was stunned. I didn't know how to react. My father, the man who had always been the rock of our family, was leaving us. It didn't seem real. It didn't seem possible. "But Dad," I started, my voice breaking. "I'm sorry, Ellie," he said. "I can't stay in this house anymore. I can't keep pretending everything is fine. I've tried, but it's over." I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. My dad was leaving. And suddenly, I was terrified. Terrified of what it meant for our family, terrified of what it meant for me. I stood there, frozen, as my dad's words echoed in my mind. "I'm leaving." It didn't make sense. How could he just walk away after everything, after years of marriage, after everything they had built together? He was giving up. I couldn't grasp it. How could this be happening to us? "Dad, please," I whispered, my voice breaking. "You can't just leave us like this. You can't just leave Mom." "I have to, Ellie," he said, his voice quiet but resolute. "I can't pretend anymore. I thought I could fix it, I thought I could move past it, but I can't." His words hit me like a punch in the stomach. I had always seen my dad as the one who held everything together, the stable one, the strong one. And now, here he was, a man broken by the lies, by the secrets that had been kept from him for so long. "What about us?" I asked, barely able to keep my voice steady. "What about me? What about Mom? We're a family, Dad." He looked at me, his eyes full of pain and regret. "I know, Ellie. I know. But sometimes love isn't enough. I don't know if I can ever look at her the same way again. I don't know if I can live in a house built on lies." His words hung in the air, suffocating. I wanted to argue, to tell him that he had to try, that he had to stay. But deep down, I knew he was right. Things could never go back to the way they were. The truth had come out, and it had torn us apart. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, my mind racing. I kept thinking about my mom. What was she feeling? How could she possibly live with herself after everything she had done? She had always been my rock, the one I turned to for comfort. And now, it felt like she was just as lost as I was. The next morning, I found her sitting in the kitchen, her eyes red from crying. I knew she hadn't slept either. There was a heaviness in the air, something that had never been there before. She looked up when I walked in, but she didn't say anything at first. "Mom," I said softly, sitting down across from her. "What happens now?" She stared at her hands, her fingers fidgeting nervously. "I don't know, Ellie. I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know if I can fix it." "You need to talk to Dad," I said. "You need to tell him the truth. All of it. You need to let him know how much he means to you." She shook her head slowly. "It's too late for that. He's made his decision." "But you can't just give up," I said, my voice rising with frustration. "You can't just walk away from everything. From us." She looked at me, her eyes filled with a sorrow I had never seen before. "I wish I could go back, Ellie. I wish I could undo everything. But I can't. I've lost him. I've lost you. And I don't know if I can ever get it back. The weight of her words hit me like a ton of bricks. This was real. My family was falling apart, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. The love that had once held us all together was now just a memory, a distant echo of what used to be. That evening, my dad left. He packed a few things and walked out the door without a second glance. I stood there, frozen in place, watching him go. I couldn't stop him. I didn't know how to stop him. He had made up his mind, and there was nothing left for me to do but watch him leave. For the next few days, everything felt like it was moving in slow motion. Mom and I barely spoke. She tried to apologize, tried to explain herself, but I couldn't hear it. I didn't know if I could ever forgive her for what she had done. For what she had kept hidden from us all these years. It wasn't until the end of the week that I finally broke down. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I felt like I was suffocating under the weight of all the anger, the confusion, the betrayal. I needed to talk to someone, anyone. But I couldn't turn to my mom. And I couldn't turn to my dad. So, I went for a walk. I walked for hours, until my legs ached and my thoughts were a little clearer. When I came back, Mom was sitting in the living room, waiting for me. Her eyes were red again, her face lined with exhaustion. But there was something different in her eyes this time. Something that looked like acceptance. "I've made a decision, Ellie," she said, her voice trembling. "I can't fix what's been broken. But I need to move forward. I need to find myself again. And I need you to understand that, no matter what happens, I love you." I sat down next to her, feeling the weight of her words. I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know if I could forgive her, or if we could ever be a family again. But I knew one thing: I had to let go of the past, or it would consume me. I had to find a way to heal, to move on. For my sake, and for hers. The days after Dad left were filled with silence. The kind of silence that hangs thick in the air, making everything feel heavier than it should. Mom and I spent our time like strangers, passing each other in the halls, avoiding eye contact, afraid of what to say next. It was like the words we needed to speak to heal weren't the words we were ready to hear. I found myself retreating into myself, questioning everything I had believed in for so long. I wondered if the love I had always seen between my parents had ever been real, or if it was just something they both faked to keep the family together. The truth was, I didn't know who I was anymore. The foundation I had built my life on was cracked, and I couldn't find a way to put it back together. But life had to go on. One evening, after days of avoiding the inevitable, I decided to go to the one place where I always felt grounded, the beach. It was a place where I had gone to think, to sort out my emotions, and I needed that more than ever. The waves crashing against the shore felt like they were washing away the weight of everything that had happened, but it didn't stop the ache inside me. I was standing at the edge of the water, my thoughts running wild, when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned to see Mom standing there, her face weary but softer than I had seen it in days. "Ellie, can we talk?" she asked, her voice low, almost hesitant. I didn't say anything at first. I didn't know if I was ready for this conversation. But, somehow, I knew it was time. We couldn't keep avoiding each other forever. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I said, my voice trembling with the weight of everything I was feeling. "I don't know if I ever will. But I'm willing to try, Mom. I'm willing to try to understand." She stepped closer, her eyes full of unshed tears. "I don't expect forgiveness right now, Ellie. I don't think I deserve it. But I need you to know that I am sorry. And I will spend every day of the rest of my life trying to make up for the hurt I caused you. For the first time in a long while, I looked at her and saw the person I used to know. Not the woman who had kept secrets, not the woman who had hurt us, but the woman who had once loved us fiercely. The woman who had made mistakes, but who was willing to admit them and fight for redemption. I don't know if things can go back to the way they were, I said, my voice catching in my throat. But I think I can try. We can try. She nodded, a small but sincere smile tugging at the corners of her lips. That's all I ask for, Ellie. Just a chance to make things right. The following weeks were full of difficult conversations, uncomfortable silences, and a lot of tears. But slowly, piece by piece, we began to rebuild. Mom and Dad, though still unsure of what would happen next, started talking again. They were trying, even if it was painful. I saw my father begin to soften, and I could tell that, in time, he would find a way to forgive her. But for now, it was enough that they were talking. As for me, I found myself taking one step at a time. It wasn't easy. I still struggled with the betrayal, with the loss of innocence about the family I had always known. But I also knew that life wasn't black and white. People make mistakes. And sometimes, forgiveness didn't mean erasing the past, it meant accepting it and learning how to move forward, one day at a time. One day, after months of tension and uncertainty, my dad came home. He didn't make a big announcement, didn't say anything dramatic. He simply walked in, like he had before, and set his bag down by the door. Mom was in the kitchen, and when she saw him, she didn't say anything at first. She just walked over to him, placed her hand on his arm, and they stood there for a moment, silent but connected. I didn't need to hear their words. I didn't need to know all the details. I could see it in the way they looked at each other, in the way they held on to each other for a moment longer than usual. They were taking the first steps toward healing, and for the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to believe that maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay.